Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our Spanish property webinar. I'm Steve Hayward of CBVA. We're real estate agents in southern Spain. And this evening, I'm joined by an excellent group of panelists: Alison de Cotta of Mortgage Matters Spain, Amaya Uriaga of Prime Legal, John Moynes of PSS International Removals, and Patrick Postel from the Global Reach Group. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hi.
Okay, and if you're watching, don't forget that you can submit questions during the webinar, and if we don't deal with them immediately, we have a Q&A after the presentations. Now, this evening we're focusing on investment property and second homes. During the title sequence, we saw some of the amazing scenery that southern Spain has to offer, as well as a few examples of the types of property available. Now, I'm often asked about the best locations to buy, and which property will give you the best return on investment. The answer really isn't simple, but if you're purchasing for investment and you never intend to use the property yourself, then it may be that the location isn't so important. Moreover, a property that has a lower cost base and good rental potential, logically, will give you the best return. So an area such as Costa Blanca South, popular with tourists of all nationalities, is a great example of this. It's actually possible to buy a two-bedroom apartment walking distance to the sea for just €75,000. On the other hand, if you're looking for some personal use or an investment with some personal use, should I say, or a second home just for family, friends and yourself, then the quality of the location and the specification of the property may be much more important. The current situation with COVID-19 has meant that many clients are now focusing on properties such as detached villas with private pools or high quality apartments in gated communities with secure communal pools and other facilities. This way, if any local lockdown measures are introduced, clients have a place to stay with comfort, privacy and security. Now, we currently have new build detached villas with private pools starting at around €210,000 and high quality apartments in gated communities from €160,000. And we also offer on-site management in selected locations. For anyone that is interested, we can have a one-to-one Zoom call to discuss your requirements in greater depth. And don't forget, you can find out more information about the properties available at our website, cbva.co.uk. Okay, well, that's enough from me, I think. Now I'd like to introduce Alison and take a look at financing your second home purchase with a Spanish mortgage. So good evening, Alison.
Good evening, Steve, and just like to say thank you very much for inviting myself and Mortgage Matters to this great initiative. I think given the current situation, you've got to be thinking of new ideas, and I think it's a great way to get the message across and to give people further information about investing and buying a second home in Spain. So thanks very much for the
No, you're very welcome. You're very welcome. So, Alison, can you tell us a little bit about Mortgage Matters Spain?
Yes, sure. Well, my name is Alison de Cotta. A little bit about me. First of all, I'm the founder of Mortgage Matters Spain. I've been in Spain myself for the last 20 years, so I'm quite integrated and fluent in the language. My husband is Spanish. My children were born here as well. So this is my home, basically. I founded Mortgage Matters 5 years ago. We are an independent mortgage broker, which means that we don't work for any bank. We have agreements with all of the major banks. Now, I'm based in the south of Spain, but the agreements that I have are valid for clients who buy anywhere throughout Spain. In fact, I do a lot of mortgages for clients who buy in the Costa Blanca, where you are, Steve, Costa del Sol, Almeria, north of Spain, Barcelona, Madrid, anywhere in Spain. The agreements that I have are valid for clients buying wherever they want to. So whether it be inland property, rustic, urban, whatever clients want, our agreements are valid for that. Bit of background about myself. I've always been in finance. I worked for several major banks, including Credit Suisse, Societe Generale, Banco Santander. And then I started specializing in mortgages, specifically mainly for non-resident clients who want to buy a second home. in Spain and for investors as well in the last 5 years. So that's what I've been doing over the last 5 years. Important to mention that we are fully qualified intermediaries, as they call them in Spain, brokers, mortgage brokers, and we're fully regulated and licensed with the Bank of Spain, who's the regulator in Spain. So regulation has really caught up with Spain, which is important, I think, for clients. If you're talking to someone about financial services these days, they need to be qualified. Okay, that's a little bit of background about what we do.
No, thank you very much. And so how can a purchase be financed by a Spanish bank?
The Spanish banks are very keen to lend to non-residents who are buying in Spain. They understand obviously the importance to the Spanish economy of foreigners investing over here. So they're very keen. They will lend up to a maximum of 70% of the purchase price of the valuation, whichever is lowest. That's the maximum LTV that they will do for non-resident clients. For resident clients, it's more. But for non-residents, it's 70%. Having said that, a lot of the banks have reduced the LTV to the Brits recently because of Brexit, unfortunately. So a lot of them have reduced it to 60% for British clients. Although having said that, I do still have a couple of banks, 2 or 3 banks, who will still do 70% for British clients if they have a strong financial profile. They will lend up to the age of 70, that's the maximum that they will do. So they want the mortgage to have finished by the time the client reaches 70, maximum 20 years. So if you're 50 or younger, we can do the maximum term 20 years. And I have a lot of clients at the moment who could be cash buyers, but are actually borrowing in euros because of the exchange rate. Because if you borrow as much as you can in euros, then it means you have to convert as little as possible sterling to euros with the exchange rate the way it is at the moment. I know that Patrick will talk about exchange rates later and give you the best deal. So that's important. And the good thing about Spanish banks is that there's a lot of flexibility about if you want to pay off the mortgage early. So I have a lot of clients borrowing as much as they can in euros, but with the idea that when the exchange rate eventually improves, sterling to euros, they will then perhaps convert a lump of cash into euros and pay off part or all of the mortgage, because you do have that flexibility with Spanish mortgages.
Okay.
Interest rates, just to quickly touch on interest rates, they're very attractive at the moment. You'd be looking at indication on a variable rate around about 2%. And on a fixed rate, you would be looking at around about 2.8%, something like that. Now, the difference with fixed rates in Spain is that, certainly in the UK, I know that we have clients from other countries, but in the UK, you tend to fix the rate for 2 to 5 years, and then you look for another deal, or you remortgage. In Spain, you don't do that. You fix the rate for the full term. So if you have a 20-year mortgage, you would normally fix the rate for the full 20 years. So 2.8%, for example, indication over 20 years is a pretty good deal.
Okay. And what documentation is required from the buyer in order to obtain a mortgage in Spain?
Yeah, documentation is very similar to what the banks would ask you for if you were applying for a loan in your home country. So, I mean, the key word for the Spanish banks is affordability. So they want to make sure that you can actually afford the mortgage. I mean, I think if we look in the past, to before the previous crisis in 2008, you could maybe say that the banks were being perhaps a little bit irresponsible with the way that they were lending. They weren't looking maybe too much at affordability, which is why they got themselves into trouble, and were almost bailed out, etc. And they stopped lending altogether for a little while, and then they came back into the market 2011 in a much more conservative way. So they really do take very seriously affordability for the clients. So they want to see things like, obviously, bank statements. They want to know about your existing debt in your home country. So they need to see a credit report from your home country. Pay slips if you're employed, company accounts if you're self-employed. So very similar documentation to what you would expect a lender in your home country to request. And they take affordability very seriously, which I think is a very good thing for clients, for the Spanish economy, and in general, it's a lot more professional.
Yeah. Makes
Yeah.
total sense.
Yeah.
Are you able to help clients obtain a mortgage in principle prior to visiting Spain when they come, before they come to Spain to
Yes.
find a property?
Yes, we are, and I would highly recommend that clients do that so that they're
As would
properly.
I.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yes, exactly. Because basically, what we do is we can spend time with the client on the phone and qualify them, if you like. So, in other words, give them proper information about how much cash they require. A bit of we can find out information already about what their affordability is like, what kind of existing debt they've got in their home country, and really give them a good idea as to what level of LTV that we can achieve for them. And then we can take it a step further, because what I'll do after that is, once I've seen the full fact find and the full financial profile, I'll prepare a report for the client along with a list of documentation, which they can send over to me in PDF. They don't need original documents. So we can do everything by phone and email. Once I've got the documents, I can actually submit the application to the banks, even if the client hasn't found the property yet, and we can get a full approval for the client subject to valuation in advance of them coming over to view. So that puts them in a very, very strong position when they do come over to view. That
Sure.
if they do find something, fall in love with it, they can comfortably put in an offer and feel sure that they've got their finance in their back pocket. So I'd highly recommend that they do that. And in fact, I've got a lot of clients who are making the most of the lockdown to sort out their financial position, get the finance sorted so that they're ready when this quarantine is lifted and they're able to come over and view. They've got the finance sorted and off they go and find themselves a property. So yeah, highly recommend that they do that.
Great. Okay. Hey, Alison, thank you very much for that information. That's really useful. And yeah, I certainly would recommend, if you are looking to finance a purchase with a mortgage, that you should really try and get this mortgage in principle. Sorry, is the word I was looking for. Mortgage in principle prior to visiting Spain. It really can save you a lot of time as well. Okay, thanks, Alison. And don't forget, if you have any questions for Alison, you can submit these during the course of the webinar, and we have the Q&A later on. Next up, we have Patrick from Global Reach, who is going to explain how to make the most of your currency transfers.
Thank you, Steve. I'm just going to share my screen so you can all see my presentation a second.
Okay.
Can everybody see that?
Yeah, that's there. Yeah, all ready to go.
So yeah, good evening, everyone. My name is Patrick Postill. I'm a senior manager from the business development team at the Global Reach Group. We're an international payment specialist, or you may know us as a currency broker. I'm here this evening to talk to you about making the most of your overseas money transfers when purchasing a second home in Spain, in particular how to minimise your exposure to negative currency fluctuations. So, what would you do with a few extra £1,000? Would you renovate a holiday home? Would you buy some new furniture? Would you use it to buy a bigger property? Or would you use it to pay John at PSS to pay for the cost of your international move, which I'm sure you'd be very interested in? As specialists in the market, our job is to help you save money on your international money transfers in the volatile markets of foreign currency. So what is the difference that Brexit's made? When Britain voted to leave the EU in June 2016, it caused huge swings in the market, causing the pound to drop by around 10% against the euro after the result was announced. As you can see, the difference between the pound to euro exchange rate on the 22nd of June 2016 of 1.30 to the exchange rate on the 8th of September 2020 of 1.10 is around a 15% decline. To put that into monetary terms, 300,000 sterling in June 2016 would have bought you 390,000 euros. In September 2020, that would only now buy you 330,000 euros. Sorry, which is a difference of around 60,000 euros. So why not use a bank? This is a question we quite often get asked. Banks sell and offer so many different products, they simply do not have the time to solely focus on foreign currency. So they're less responsive to customers' needs. Exchange rates are constantly fluctuating 24 hours a day. So if a piece of economic data is released that suddenly causes the pound to spike against the euro, a bank is not going to be in a position to react as quickly as we can. Banks also offer less competitive exchange rates and can quite often charge fees to transfer and to send your funds. So a little bit about Global Reach. We were founded in 2001, so we've been in operation for around 19 years. We have 25,000 active clients around the globe. In 2019, we processed around 6 billion in foreign currency payments, are experts at what we do. We have over 200 employees, and we have offices in London, Cornwall, Cyprus, South Africa, Spain, the Netherlands, and we've recently expanded our operation to Canada. Most importantly, we are authorised by the FCA, which is a Financial Conduct Authority, as an authorised payments institution, as an authorised electronic money institution. We use segregated client accounts, which means your funds are always safe and secure. And in 2020, we were winners of FIFO's Gold Trusted Service Award. So what I'm going to do in the next few slides, I'm going to talk around some of the different tools and market orders that we have that are designed to help you stay in control of your budget when purchasing a Spanish property. So the first one I'm going to talk about is what we call a spot contract. Generally, these tend to be used for smaller amounts. Say, for instance, if you found the property you'd like to buy from Steve and you need to pay a €5,000 reservation fee. On a smaller amount, the exchange rate doesn't make much difference, so you can just go and just buy the currency on the day, and that is the rate of the day. So that is what we call a spot contract. The next type of contract, which is very useful if you're purchasing a property, is a forward contract. Forward contract is a very effective way of ensuring the cost of your property does not suddenly start to become more expensive, because you can effectively fix the exchange rate for up to 2 years in advance. In most cases, there will be a time delay from when you put down a deposit on a property to when you complete. Completion can be roughly anywhere between sort of 2 to 18 months, depending if it's a resale or a new build off plan. Obviously, Steve's the estate agent, so he could talk to you around that in more details. I'm just using this as an illustration to give you an idea of the mechanics of a forward contract. So if you agree to purchase a property and put down a deposit in April for 350,000, the property is going to cost you 350,000 euros, and the exchange rate is pounds to euro 1.15. The cost of the property in sterling would be 304,347. When you come to complete the sale in September, the pound to euro exchange rate has decreased down to 110. The cost of your property is now 318,181. So you can see by using a forward contract, you could have saved yourself £13,834, which is a lot of money. A forward contract is very easy to put in place. Once you open an account with us, you simply speak to your account manager, who will discuss a forward contract with you. If you wish to proceed, all we require is a 10% deposit of the total amount of funds you required. So for instance, a forward contract of £300,000, we would need a 30k deposit. The exchange rate is then frozen for the next 2 years. So you have peace of mind that should the pound suddenly start to decline against the euro, you know you're in complete control of your budget and your property is not going to start costing you any more money. Another couple of tools that we've got are called a limit and a stop loss order. These are two highly effective tools that are designed to help you control and maximize your budget. As I previously mentioned, the foreign currency market is constantly being traded and exchange rates fluctuate 24 hours a day. A stop loss and a limit order allow you to take advantage of this. If, for instance, you have an ideal pound to euro exchange upper and lower limit that you would like to buy your currency at, say, for instance, you'd like to buy some currency if the pound to euro rate hit 115, or you'd also like to buy it if it didn't go any lower than 113, we can place these orders into the market for you. And if either of these rates trigger at any point during a 24-hour period, we can automatically go and buy the currency for you. And again, that helps you to control and stay in control of your budget. So using a combination of forward contracts, limit and stop loss orders, and our wealth of expertise in the currency market, we can help you put in place a robust strategy to minimize your exposure to negative currency fluctuations. We also have a facility for regular smaller payments. We understand that many of our clients still have assets back in the UK. These could be bank accounts, pensions. And we found that many people use their high street banks to send these funds over to their Spanish bank. When they actually look into the rate they receive and the transfer fees they pay, this becomes a very expensive way to send your money to Spain. So we also offer a much more cost-effective solution to cater for our clients that wish to transfer smaller amounts, pensions, mortgages, living expenses, etc. We can effectively sit in between your UK bank and your Spanish account. You can set up a standing order from your UK bank and transfer your sterling to our Barclays account. This can be done weekly, monthly, or quarterly. You can then go onto our award-winning platform and send the funds to your Spanish bank. You can also store money in your sterling account with us till the rate increases, and then convert whenever you require and send us funds over to Spain. So what happens next? You can set up an account with us online or over the telephone. There are no associated costs involved. When you're ready to make your first transfer, it's very quick and easy. You simply speak to your account manager, agree the rate, or you could be looking at a forward contract or a stop loss or a limit order. Yeah, you then send your funds to our Barclays account, and then we ask you where you would like the funds to be sent. If you're buying a property, obviously it may go directly to the lawyer, so it may be going to a mayor. Sometimes it goes directly to the property agent. So you just tell us where you would like the funds to be sent and we will send it to them. So that's as simple as that. If any of you have any questions or would like to discuss anything in more detail or would like a free currency consultation, please feel free to contact me directly. I believe Steve will publish my contact details at the end of this presentation. Thank you for listening. I'll now pass you back to Steve.
Thank you very much, Patrick. I think there was a slight technical error there on your presentation. We did miss a couple of slides, but not to worry, because I'm sure if anyone's got any questions, that they will be asking you anyway. Actually, just one thing. Presumably, you're also able to look after clients from countries such as Norway, Sweden, USA, who may be looking to purchase in Spain, and therefore maybe they need to convert their local currency into euros.
Yes, yeah, very good question. Yeah, we offer most of the major currencies, and we offer a lot of exotic currencies as well. So we can help most clients from most countries buy and sell currency both ways.
Okay. I've got one question here from Roger, and he asks, as my money is already in my UK bank account, would it not be quicker and easier to get them to transfer my funds?
Yeah, very good question. When it comes to speed, if you get a transfer with us before 2 p.m. UK time, we can get the funds over to Spain on the same day. With regards to safety, we have the same authorizations as a bank, so we're FCA regulated. And as I've mentioned, we use client segregated accounts. So your funds are never mixed with our business funds. So at all times, your funds are set in a ring-fenced account. So if anything was to happen to our business, not that it's going to, we've been in operation 19 years, your client funds are safe at all times and they can be recalled at any time. And obviously the main reason people would choose to use us rather than a bank is we offer far better exchange rates.
Okay. And another part of the question from Roger says, how do I know my money is safe using you? I think you just answered that, did you?
Yeah, again, Roger, that's really due to the fact we use ring-fenced accounts. We've got the highest level of authorization by the Financial Conduct Authority. So yeah, anytime you send money to us, it's set in a separated account from our business funds that you're in control of at any time. So your money is always 100% safe.
Okay. Thank you very much, Patrick. I'm sure we'll be hearing more from you later if we have any questions. Now, John from PSS International Removals is going to tell us about the best way to move your possessions to Spain. Good evening, John, once again.
Hi, good evening, Stephen. Good evening, everybody. Just going back to Global Reach, we've been using Global Reach now as a company for just going over 10 years. As we are an international removal company, we ship globally, and the rates that they save us on paying all these overseas agents is quite significant. And many of our clients have used them and can actually offset that. I mean, I believe if you're looking at sending maybe around about £100,000, the difference between them and a bank, it pretty much almost covers the total of your removal costs. So wow, it's something to think about, definitely worthwhile looking into. Just a little bit about ourselves. PSS International Removals has been trading now for just under 40 years. And during that time, we've helped thousands of families make that trip across over to Spain. And whether you've got maybe just a couple of boxes, and being that we're talking about potentially looking at second homes, we found that a lot of those homes, although fully furnished, still want those little bit of memorabilia around, a couple of photographs, books, just to make it feel like home. But certainly that type of service is really straightforward for us. We have these little backpacking vans that run around the whole of the UK. We drop off the material. You leisurely take your time in packing up the bits and pieces, giving us a shout, letting us know exactly what that total number of cartons are. And then obviously we get that delivered out. Now, it does go as a partial load or part load service. So it does take a little bit longer, potentially up to 3 weeks to get out there, because it takes us, generally speaking, about 2 weeks to fill a big articulated vehicle with just these small amount of boxes to get it over there. It has been a little bit longer now, unfortunately, with COVID in certain areas, but it seems to be improving. There were delays at Dover, but that seems to significantly improve. For those clients who have got a full household, I mean, you may be moving into a property that you need to get all your furniture over. That's when we say, let us pop round to the house. And those who have logged in today, and I may have realized that a couple of people are calling in from outside of the UK. The process is slightly different because we're part of the EU. Therefore, the good news is there's no, all we need is a copy of your passport, the inventory. There's no customs clearance. There's no, currently up until the end of this year, there's absolutely no issues moving effects to Spain. It's literally like moving from West London to North London. For those outside of the EU, yes, there's going to be customs regulations. There's certain documentation. But certainly don't feel like you're left out and we're only focusing on individuals that are based in the UK. I know certainly all of us can assist those people globally, although we won't personally be doing the move itself. We have a real big global network of overseas agents, and a lot of them will do the packing up. So if you're based in the US, for example, Jordan River, they will pack up your effects and actually send it. It seems a bit odd not sending it directly to Spain, but the UK for overseas shipments is classed as almost like a hub. So everything comes into the UK, gets sent, a lot of it gets sent down to our depot, which is really down in Kent, which is quite close to the crossing. They don't have to worry about the congestion zone, getting effects from the congestion zone. So it all comes through to us, and then we distribute out in Spain. But certainly, if you do have furniture involved, get us to pop round to the house. And I would say get at least 3 or 4 companies to do the same. It's so important to really start thinking about that now. It's not really worth taking certain items, things like IKEA furniture. I know for a fact I struggle with a diagram putting certain things together. For families or expecting our packers to reassemble that type of furniture, and the cost to replace those items really doesn't, I don't think personally, justifies the cost in terms of shipping or in terms of getting it out there by road freight. But certainly good quality, expensive, solid pieces of furniture that is going to last you a lifetime. Then it becomes really cost effective. So to give you an idea, a 3-bedroom house was us doing all the packing, the inventory for you. You literally sit back, maybe switch the kettle on every now and again for the blokes. But generally speaking, I would budget on around about £4,500. As it stands now, there is VAT applicable, but dependent on what happens next year, if we are no longer, and there is no deal, and we class then as a third country move, then there is no VAT applicable, but then there's more documentation like I mentioned earlier. But the service is we will come around, pack up all the effects. Each and every plate is individually wrapped, packed up right. We don't pack, we get the odd little client who say, well, you didn't really utilize the whole box. Because at the top of the box, we have to put a couple of inches layers of tissue paper, especially on glassware, crockery, china, because when you're putting packing boxes on top of each other, you're going to get that little bit of pressure. So we allow for what we call a crush factor. If you've got some really good antiques, then we would cut out corrugated cardboard, put it on your dining room table. So if anything leaned against it, you don't get any of the pressure marks. Things as white goods, I would say things like fridge freezers, washing machines, they can be expensive to replace. All we would say is disconnect it a couple of days beforehand, maybe take an unused tea bag, put it on the inside, and works like a silica bag, sucks out that last bit of moisture before we pop over. When we do pop around and do that survey, and we would really say, let us pop around, even if it's 6 months before you go, because by then you may have a slight indication, but we can work on worst case scenarios. So when we walk around the house where you're pretty nosy, we ask you to open all the cupboards and get a real feel of what items are to go, because you're going to get a printout of every single effect that you've shown us. You can always call us back at a later stage and say, guys, had a real think about this. Go to the bedroom, draw a line through these items, give me a new price. Or the new owners of the property, certain pieces of furniture they may want to retain. So that would even cut back the list even further. Another bits of tips, I would say spend some time in that loft. I've got effects in my loft because the UK isn't really great in terms of loft space and storage space. And you know that whole case of out of sight, out of mind. And when you actually start looking on top of the wardrobe, under the bed and in the loft, you'll be surprised how all these little bits accumulate. But even if you've got a small amount, with like today's technology, we have a little app called VoxMe where we can offer video surveys. So if you're not 100% sure and you're not too confident on the space, it's weird that in some countries work in cubic feet, some work in cubic meters. We get a lot of our clients asking about square footage, but that's just floor space. We need the height, the proper dimensions. And having this video survey, we've got 6 surveyors out on the road who visit almost, I would say, 4 to 5 clients every day. We have a dedicated team just for video surveys. So yeah, give us a call. We can book that appointment. It's a good way to get the ball starting to rolling, getting an idea, because it's all about budgeting. It's all about the cost of this and the cost of that. How much can I save by using all these different networks and do the comparisons. But I would say the biggest thing, and I always mention this over in every single webinar, is about really speaking to us at a really early stage so we can do the planning. Because it's not just a matter of looking at UK property, because if you're in central London, you know what the congestion's like there, really difficult to get parking. Certain councils want a certain length of time to suspend parking. Recently, we've had to get a cherry picker outside the client's house because the furniture could only go out the window and they were on the 10th floor. So it's trying to logistically plan all of this and operationally make it correct. But also, when it arrives in Spain, because they're coming out on a big articulated vehicle doing all these different drop-offs, roads in Spain doesn't necessarily mean you can always just park that vehicle there. Had one recently where there was a one weight restriction on one side of the road and a different weight restriction on the other side. And then we have to get a little vehicle and ferry it up this little quirky road going to the client's villa. So these are all things that we need to talk about and pre-plan prior to the move. You spend your life accumulating all these bits and pieces, there's always something sentimental around the house, but it's one of those strange things. It's the last thing our clients think about. We get numerous calls daily where clients will say, I've got a 3-bedroom house, can you pick it up next week? We all go into a panic. We don't know what material to bring. Are there certain items that need special casings or that little bit of additional protection? But yeah, please feel free to give us a call. Mine's short and sweet, but hopefully hear from you guys. And again, for those who are logged in from outside of the UK, please make contact with myself and I certainly can point you in the right direction. That's it from me, Steve.
Okay, thank you, John. Actually, one point, in the same way that mortgage brokers, currency brokers, etc., are regulated, are there similar accreditations in your industry?
Really good call and good shout that. Yes, most definitely. Certainly in the UK, and now, because as everybody's been hearing on the news, and it's not just the UK, globally, a lot of companies have really struggled during this pandemic. So even more so now than ever before is making sure the companies you are dealing with have certain accreditations. And for for our industry is being members of the British Association of Removals, the BAR. And what that covers you, because you're paying upfront for your removal, last thing you want to do is have your goods collected, put into storage because your house sale's gone through too quickly, only to find a month later that company's gone into administration. Then you trying to fight with the administrators, the receivers to try get some money out of that. But being members of the BAR, what that helps you is, God forbid something did happen to a removal company, is that they will entrust another removal company to ensure that your goods are shipped abroad. Also, I mean, if you are outside of the UK, the other one is being members of FIDI or FAME. That's an international accreditation for the, whereby we all have to follow set documents. So if I was sending effects, say, through to Canada, being members of FIDI, I can only use FIDI regulated agents, certain shipping lines. So all of these things have a big impact, and that may have an impact, and that accreditation may come into force depending on Brexit and what the relationship between Spain and the UK is. So yes, absolutely. Also, when that brings me to another point, Steve, is also when looking at companies, speak to companies who do international removals. A lot of domestic companies are trying to dip their toes in the international market. Their packing is completely different. Moving locally, people just throw blankets over your furniture, and plates just put into a cup. You will find that you'll get more breakages moving down the road than what you do internationally, and that's just purely because of the way the packing's done. So yeah, all these little things do take, you've got to take them all into account.
Okay, right, well, thank you, John. And just another reminder, don't forget that we have a Q&A with the panelists, which will commence after we've heard from Amaya of Prime Legal. Good evening, Amaya, welcome once again.
Hi, good evening, Steve. Thank you very much to come with us today again. So I'm going to present a little the company, and then I will share my screen with a presentation, right?
Okay.
My name is Amaya Luzuriaga, and I'm a Spanish lawyer and also the founder of Prime Legal Spain. We are specialized in property law and all related matters to buying or selling a property in Spain, just helping and giving advice to those who want to come to live or they want to just invest in Spain. Today I will talk about the purchase process, also the type of purchase, the different types of purchase, and a little bit about buying to rent. So let me hold a second, share my screen, if I can find where to do it. Hold a sec. It is, I can't find it. Here, sorry, excuse me. I think it is just here. That's it. Can you see it? Yeah. Okay. So I will start with the 5 steps to a successful purchase. I will go briefly into some of them and extend a little bit more in the most important. The first step is to do your research and use a real estate agent like Steve, who will be able to explain the best investment for your buying purpose. At this point, it's good to think about what kind of purchase you want to do. If you're buying to live, or you're buying for a second home, or you buying to like investment to rent a property, or maybe you are thinking about renting and also use the property for yourself. So location used to be very important. The communications are the transport is very important as well. And Steve can help you a lot just choosing the right property for this. Once you have found the property, you will be asked to pay a deposit to take the property off the market and sign a reservation contract. This contract used to be very short and brief. They do not come with a lot of clauses, but there's few important clauses you might consider in this moment, like the completion date, because if you are applying for a mortgage, as Alison has explained to you, the process can take a while if you didn't apply for yourself to know if you can get a mortgage in Spain, and it used to take between 6 to 8 weeks. So you need to consider that completion space of time to complete. And also it's important to take in consideration that we need to run information, the searches over the property. So what happens if the property is not in the conditions you were thinking it was? So all these little things we have to foresee in the reservation contract, because the deposit used to be non-refundable. So it is important to prevent this situation. After this, it comes the biggest step and the most important, which is the third step. It is the searches and the purchase contract. Sometimes from the reservation contract, you go straight to completion. You don't need to sign a proper purchase contract in the middle. But normally, we will sign a purchase contract. Also, we run all the searches here. So you will need the whole information. We will gather all the information from the vendor, like the land registry report, the council tax payslips, the garbage. We will search if the property owner is the one that is registered in the land registry, if there is any debts or encumbrances over the property, if it is renter, or it has to be free of tenants and also free of occupants. So we will run all those kinds of searches on the property, and also we will see that there is no any kind of urban infractions on the property, so you won't have any problem before going to notary. So once this happens, we will be able to complete. At this step, it is important to take in consideration that there are different types of purchase. It is different when you buy a purchase directly from the developer or off plan, or if it is already built, and if you're buying not a house but an apartment. So if you're buying an off plan, you will need to gather some other information from the developer, like if they have the license to build, if they have the bank guarantees for the payments you will be doing installments before completion. Once the construction is finished, if they gain the first occupancy license, which you will need it for almost everything, like setting up the utilities, which is fundamental. And also, if you want to buy a property for holiday rental, you will be asked to have the first occupancy license. If you're buying a house that is already built, there are some other requirements, like the 10 years insurance of the property. So we will gather also this information for you. There are lots of documents you might need before completing. The most easy way of buying is when you buy an apartment, second-hand apartment, we gather the information, you go straight to completion. But also you will need as well the first occupancy license and some information regarding tenants, occupancy, debts, council tax, and all these matters. And the next step, once all the searches are done and all documents are prepared, you are signed the purchase contract. You pay normally when you sign the purchase contract, I forgot to say about the deposit and also what you pay when you've signed with this change of contracts. For the deposit, you are asked to pay, depends on the property, but normally about the 5% of the property price. And when you're signing in this change of contracts, you used to go to the 10% of the property price. It depends on the purchase, it depends on the vendor, it's nothing established, but this is more or less what you can expect. And the rest you will pay it in completion at the notary. And also normally you pay by bank drafts. If you have already applied for a mortgage, we will be in a very good communication with Alison, with the bank, with the notary. So we all have to be connected because we will be in the notary for completion, and we need to gather the information, the documents signed before completion, and then the completion is I think, the shorter moment, because it takes a while to be in the notary, maybe 1 hour, 2 hours, but then you just sign the deed and everything is done. All the work has been done before, and you can imagine it is a lot of job to do. And the fifth step is the after sales. We will take care of everything. We will set up the utilities into your name, register the property, pay the taxes, collect the deeds from the notary. That's all. You just need to take the key and come into your house. So this is the best part, I think. I will continue talking about a holiday let registration. In Spain, we have the regulation for holiday lets. So I will focus in Andalusia one, but almost all the coast communities, regions have this very similar regulation. So more or less is defined the same way. A holiday let is defined as a property located in a residential area, which is rented out for financial gain on a regular basis for more than 2 months a year to different people and advertised through any channel. To do this holiday let registration, you will be asked for cover some requirements. Some requirements are before the registration. You will be asked the first occupancy license, and as said before, and also the property itself has to comply with some conditions like air conditioning in all bedrooms, ventilation, linens, white goods. Once you have registered, we will gather all this information, all this document, and present it to the administration. And once you have the registration, you will need to have also some comply with some requirements about reservation, payments, and the cancellation conditions, how will be applied. You need to take in consideration that also once you have all this done, you will need to keep the registry of the guests. You will register these guests with the police, and you need to keep these records for at least 3 years. This is for security reasons, as you can do, as the hotels and hostels, they do as well. So, of course, you can apply for this registration as long as you're more or less fluent in Spain and you know the system. But the easiest way by far is if you count on us to do it for you. Of course, if you have any more questions, personal questions, I will be happy to answer any questions here, or you can contact me by email. I'm offering as well a free online consultation to those who attended the webinar.
Okay. Thanks, Amaya. That's very interesting information for our viewers to note the differences in the purchase process. As I've said before, the importance of having a qualified, experienced and reputable lawyer. Okay, so we've got a couple of questions that were submitted actually before the webinar. Now, one of them actually, if you can stay on there for a second, Amaya, this one is probably for you. Now, we've had a question regarding purchasing property, such as a holiday home, in a restricted zone. Just to explain to the viewers, there's certain areas along the coast of Spain where there's military activity, such as naval maneuvers, flight practicing, etc. Nothing to worry about. I mean, it's perfectly normal with any country that has coastline. But anyway, there are these areas. And for certain groups of nationals, there's a different procedure when purchasing. Maybe you can explain this one, Amaya.
Yeah, sure. This is a quite old law. It is a pre-constitutional one. It is from 1975, but it is still applied. And as you have said, it is for defense, national defense. So there are some restricted areas, and these areas, one of the restrictions is for foreigners, people who is not coming from, they are not Spanish, and also they are not from the European Union. So it is very likely that it will be applied for the UK citizens after the withdrawal agreement. And you can, of course, you can buy a property there. You can, the islands, all the islands are subject to this, and you can see that Mallorca and all the Balearic Island is full of foreign people, so no problem. But you might need to apply for a certification to the defense minister, so because there is a percentage, supposedly it's the percentage of foreigners that can live in those areas. One of the areas is Cartagena, another is the Cadiz Bay, the islands, but it takes quite like around 2 months. You need to apply to present some documents like a plan of the area, which house is the one you want to buy, and all this information, and they will give you an authorization to buy in that area. So it will take a while, and you need to think about this before putting the completion date, of course.
Yeah. Actually, a couple of years ago, I had a client from United States, and they had to go through this procedure. They were looking to buy, it was somewhere around Playa Flamenca, and I understand the area between Torrevieja and Cabo Roig and the Mar Menor is one of these zones. And it took a couple of months, but basically they still successfully purchased a property, which was great. That's good. Okay, thank you very much, Amaya. Now we have a question from Marie, and this one is for Patrick, and she asks, some of my friends have used TransferWise and said they offer really good exchange rates. What makes you different? Patrick.
Hi, Marie. Yeah, good question. It's a question we often get quite often asked. TransferWise are what's called a peer-to-peer service. So you never get to speak to anybody. It's just all done on an online app. This is great if you're transferring very, very small amounts. But if you're purchasing a property and you're transacting like upwards of 100,000 euros, you really want to be speaking to a company like ours, because we can actually take the time to put in place a strategy to time the exchange rate at the optimal time so you maximize your funds. Transfer transactional, it's okay, I'd like to buy some euros, and they will sell you euros at the day's rate. Another issue you may find with TransferWise is because they will offer a really great rate up front, but what they will do is they will charge you a fee for sending the money, which is based on different bands on the volumes you're sending. And they also send it the slowest way possible to avoid any fees. We will pay an extra fee so we can send our money by the quickest payment. So when you purchase in property, time is of the essence. If you need to get a reservation fee over to Spain, like we've done in the past for yourself, Steve, and a client needs it there by the end of the day, we can guarantee we can get it there. I wouldn't be so sure with TransferWise. So that is use us as opposed to TransferWise.
Okay. Hey, thanks for that. Right, that about wraps it up for this evening. If you would like to contact myself or any of our panelists, you can visit cbva.co.uk/events, where you can find the details. That link will be shown at the end of this webinar. And don't forget, we will be repeating the webinar on YouTube, and tomorrow morning you'll receive an email with the YouTube link, as well as all the panelists' contact info. So all that remains for me to say is thank you to our excellent panelists, Alison, Amaya, John, and Patrick.
Thank you very much, Steve.
Thank you very much, Steve.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Steve. Bye.
Thank you for viewing, and thank you all for viewing, and we look forward to seeing you in Spain soon. Okay, so good night.
Thank you all. Take care.